big movie releasing this weekend, we all know, is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Very highly anticipated. Very excited to check it out myself on Saturday. But the big question that I've seen going around regarding Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is, can this be the movie to hit $1 billion for the MCU this year? Well, I have some thoughts on that, and we're going to break them down right now, because I think that there's a couple strong reasons why Guardians of the Galaxy will make $1 billion, and there's also a couple reasons why I think it might not make that $1 billion. So let's just get started with the list. Let's start talking about why Guardians of the Galaxy might have a chance at making $1 billion. Volume 2 was 6 years ago. The last I know, it's crazy to think about. The last Guardians of the Galaxy movie that we got was all the way back in 2017, 6 years ago. So maybe there's a hunger. Maybe a lot of people are really, really excited to see another Guardians movie. I mean, these are movies that have been beloved in the MCU since the first one premiered back in 2014. So there definitely is a lot of anticipation for this movie, and maybe the people are just going to come out in droves to see how this finale to one of the most beloved franchises in the MCU ends. But going off of that note, we also had the holidays, we had the holiday special. The holiday special, which brought James Gunn's Guardians, because the Guardians have been in some other stuff since Guardians Volume 2, but James Gunn was at the helm of them once again with the holiday special, and Guardians of the Galaxy, the holiday special, was such a delight and a joy this holiday season, and I think it brought a lot of people back to what they loved about the Guardians, about the excitement of the Guardians. I know from my family personally, when we sat down and watched that Christmas special on Christmas Eve, everybody was having a great time, and you could just feel how much fun everyone was having and the joy that it was bringing. And if people, the last time that we have been with the Guardians was with the holiday special, that's a lasting feeling that people were left with. They probably want to come back for more. They want more of the Guardians, and where are they going to get it? The theaters this weekend. So that's another reason why it might hit $1 billion. Also, the word of mouth. This movie has been getting really great reactions online at the moment. It's got, last time I checked, it had a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting decent, good reviews, and people are coming out of this movie, haven't had a good time, haven't been really satisfied with the way that it wraps up and ends the story. At least that's what I've been hearing. I can't speak for that myself. But with that word of mouth going around, people may come out in droves yet again to see the Guardians of the Galaxy. Also, this is the final time, as mentioned before, with these Guardians. This is the final time that we are going to see Chris Pratt as this Star-Lord, as Zoe Saldana as this Gamora, potentially, and Nebula, and Mantis, and Dave Bautista as Drax. This is the final time that we get to spend with the characters we love, and people may not want to let that feeling go. They may give this repeat viewings and get it up to that $1 billion mark just simply for the fact that we don't want to let go of these guys, especially if Volume 3 is yet another fun time, another fun adventure with these gangs of misfits. And finally, the last point of why it might just make $1 billion. These movies have always had a disconnection from the MCU. I mean, the MCU at this moment is kind of in an iffy spot. There's a lot of people that feel it's oversaturated, feel like they're not really that invested in the multiverse storyline, or that the multiverse storyline is just too much for them. They're not interested. It's not intriguing. A lot of people are falling off of the MCU bandwagon, but the Guardians movies have established, and the audience is conditioned to believe that these characters, that these movies, they don't always overly connect that much to the overall MCU. If you watch Guardians 1 and Guardians Volume 2 back to back without ever seeing anything from the MCU, you wouldn't even feel like it was part of a cinematic universe. And if Volume 3 can keep that containment, it might be a little bit tricky with the new Gamora from the new timeline. I'm not quite sure how they're going to work her into the movie, but if they can feel like it's a standalone, it's disconnected from a lot of the stuff that's going on with the overall MCU at the moment, I think this could be a more enjoyable experience for a lot more people, and people might tell more people, hey, go to it. It's not like Ant-Man Quantumania. It's not like Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. You will have a great time. Go see this. It might just get them to that $1 billion mark. All right, guys. With that, let's move on. Let's talk about some reasons why Guardians of the Galaxy, at least some of the reasons I think, that it won't make $1 billion. Starting with the fact that this franchise has never been a $1 billion franchise. Now, that doesn't mean that the movie can't become a $1 billion franchise. I mean, Despicable Me 3 made $1 billion, and the Minions movie made $1 billion, when Despicable Me 1 and Despicable Me 2, they didn't make $1 billion. So I'm not saying that this movie can't become $1 billion film just because the other two haven't become $1 billion films. But when you look at the first Guardians of the Galaxy worldwide, and of course, this was when no one knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy was. This was a total surprise for not just MCU fans, but movie fans in general. Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014 made $773,350,147 at the box office worldwide by the end of its run. And when you look at Guardians Volume 2, it went up about $100 million with $863,756,051. So it definitely has gotten close to that $1 billion mark, but it's also been a trajectory going upwards, which is definitely what the studios want to see and is good for the franchise. But if the trajectory is going up another $100 million, this could top off at about $950 million, $960 maybe. So maybe it'll come just shy of the $1 billion mark. Also, we have to acknowledge that the MCU numbers are declining. Now, I did mention before, these movies, they have seemed in the past to be disconnected from the MCU overall, Guardians 1 Volume 2. But we also have to remember that since Volume 2, Guardians have appeared in Infinity War, in Endgame, and in Thor Love and Thunder. And all three of those movies are connected to the larger MCU story. So audiences may think that Guardians of the Galaxy is going to connect to this multiverse saga, is going to connect over this MCU universe that they're starting to get tired of. They're starting to fall off a little bit. They're not as invested as they used to be in the previous phases. And I think that is a real possibility that could hurt Guardians' chances of making $1 billion. Also, on that note, it's not like we've had a lack of Guardians in the past couple of years. I mean, just mentioned it before. They were in Volume 2 in 2017. 2018, the next year, they were in Infinity War. In 2019, they showed up again in Endgame. Then the pandemic hit and all that stuff. But then we had them again in Thor Love and Thunder last year, as well as the Guardians Holiday Special was on Disney+. So it's not like we have been deprived of these characters for a very long time. They've definitely been popping up within our lives over the course of these couple years. Some people may not even feel like they've gone anywhere. So maybe the enticement of a new Guardians film isn't enough for people to get out there multiple times to see the film. Maybe they feel like they've already seen the Guardians of the Galaxy just last week. Next up, and this is probably the biggest one, I think, is the competition. When you look at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it is not like it's in an open sea of nothingness. There's a lot surrounding Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. You've got Fast 10 coming out just 2 weeks after Guardians of the Galaxy, followed by The Little Mermaid. And then we jump into June. You get The Flash, Across the Spider-Verse, Indiana Jones, and the Dial of Destiny. Every weekend after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, you're getting another huge big blockbuster that people are anticipating. This could definitely hurt the repeat numbers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 going into later months such as June and July. And lastly, and this one I can't really speak to for myself, but we've been seeing in the reactions online, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 apparently has some darker content. Apparently this movie is going to focus a little bit more on Rocket Raccoon's origin story, which will involve some torturous scenes towards animals. Some people, that's not going to sit well with them. Some people, they're not going to enjoy watching that. Even if they have a ton of fun with the rest of the movie, there are definitely going to be a group of people, maybe even young kids, who aren't going to be able to go back and handle the movie again, or just don't want to see those scenes again. Maybe that'll also hurt their repeat viewings. But anyway, guys, those are just my thoughts and opinions on why Guardians might make $1 billion, why it might not make $1 billion. But I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this? Do you think that Guardians will make $1 billion? Why do you think those reasons are? Do you think it won't? Why do you think those reasons are? Comment down below. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions about this, guys. And without further ado, let's take a look at what you guys are saying about this.